Hi, I'm Ben Shaver with Karl Chevrolet, and I'm here to show you your new Chevy Tahoe. Let's go around back here and we'll get started. So just like before, your pressure pad to open up the lift gates can be right here. You're going to press it and they'll pop open for you. You do have a little bit of built-in storage down here. You're just going to pull this bad guy up here, and then you got a little extra storage down here. I'm going to close that. To put down your seats down here, these two buttons right here are going to put down the two bucket seats up front. You just press and hold and it'll go down for you. And then these two are going to lift down your back seats. You just press and hold, and then you press and hold to lift that one back up. Your two bucket seats up front, though, you have to lift up manually. These are the only two that you can put back up with the remotes up here. You do have a little extra charging option right here with the 12-volt cigarette lighter. And then to close your vehicle or your lift gate, you're just going to press this button right here. And the cool thing about the Tahoes is you do have a little extra, an easier way to get into your trunk option. There's a button right here that's going to allow this to open. And you can, it makes it a little easier getting groceries and stuff like that out with a little extra opening there. So I'm going to close this. Another thing with the key fob here, you do have two options to open up your lift gate. So if I double click this one here, I'm going to double click it, and it's going to open up the lift gate for you. And you do have to come up and manually shut it. So I'm going to click that and shut that. And then your other one here is going to open up just that top portion. So if I double click that, it pops it open for you, so you can come back here and lift it up. So that's how you would use both of those. So we're going to show you how to program your lift gate here. So it's at the full setting right now. It's all the way to the top here. So if I want to set it at a certain height, let's say like right here, I'm going to bring it down to it, and then I'm going to press and hold this button until the lights flash, and then you're good to go. So if I click that button and it closes for me, and then if I come right back out here and open it up, it's going to bring me to that setting. Just like that, and so it's not all the way open. So that's how you would do that. It's on the 3/4 setting right now, so if you bring it back to max, it's going to override it and bring it all the way back up to the top. But that's how you would program it, especially if you were in a smaller garage or something that you needed at a certain height for. Chevrolet went to the new capless fuel system, so that way you just throw the nozzle in there in the wintertime. You don't have to worry about messing with the cap or anything like that. Not much to really learn about there. You do have keyless entry right here. So what that is when you come up to your car with your key fob in your pocket or in your purse or something like that, you're going to click the unlock button, or this button right here, and it's going to unlock all 4 doors. And then if I click it once more, it's going to lock all the 4 doors. But if I come up to the driver door and I click to unlock it, only the driver door will unlock unless you click it twice, and then all the 4 doors are going to unlock. But the driver door is the only one you're going to have to double click that with. You also have remote start with your key here. It's pretty similar to past vehicles, so you're just going to double click the lock button and press and hold that half circle there for about 3 to 5 seconds, and you're good to go. And if the key fob were to ever die, there's a little silver button here on the side. You're just going to press that in, pull out a key, so that way if you ever need to, you can get into your car without your key fob. But other than that, let's get inside and show you the rest of the features. So we're in the vehicle now in the driver's seat here. I'm going to get the vehicle started here, and we'll start to go over everything in here. All right, so we're going to start over here on the driver's side door. Down here is going to be your seat settings, so that way you can set your seats to whatever you need to have it set at. To set those, we're just going to press set here, and it's going to beep at me once, and then I'm going to hit the number and press and hold it, and then it's going to beep at me twice. So if I do it here, and then we're all set for that one. And that's going to be the same thing for 1, 2, and then the easy exit. The easy exit option is when you turn off the vehicle, it's going to bring your seat all the way down in the back. And then when you turn the vehicle on, it's going to bring you back up to number 1. It's going to be set the same way, but those are your 3 options there. If we move up here onto the top side here, you have your child lock, so you can't open the back doors. If I just click it in there, it'll turn it on. The next one is going to be your window lock, so that way you can, for little kids back there and you want them to open up the windows. And then these are going to be your back 2 windows and then your front 2 windows. And then if I move up to here, this middle button here is going to be how you fold in your windows. So if I click it once, it's going to fold in my windows or my mirrors. And if I click it again, it's going to unfold them. And then these 2 buttons here on the sides are going to be how you adjust your mirrors. So if I click that, sometimes it takes a second here while there we go. And then I'm going to use the wheel here to adjust them. And then if I go want to do my passenger side, I'm going to do that. And when I'm done, I'm going to click it again and it'll turn it off for you. If I move over here a little bit, we're going to come onto the dash. This button right here is going to dim my dashboard and my touchscreen if my lights are on, which they are. So it's just going to dim those if I move it up and down. But I usually leave it at the highest setting. Next button over here is going to be your automatic lights, which are on right now, if you can tell. If I want to turn those off, I'm going to click it once to the left, and then that way they're off. If you ever want to manually turn them on while they're off and not have them on auto, you're going to click all the way to the right to turn them on for you. I'm going to bring us back to auto here because that's where your 99% of the time going to be. Your fog lights are going to be the same button. You're just going to click in on it. And then if I click in on it again, it's going to turn them off for you. My next little knob over here is going to be my 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, and all that kind of stuff. If I click once to the left or right, it's going to put me into auto. So that way it's going to leave me in 2-wheel drive unless my car thinks it needs to be in 4-wheel drive, mainly when the weather is changing and stuff like that. And if I click one more time to the right, it's going to be 4 high. So it's just going to be 4-wheel drive constantly. And then 4 low is if you're in the mountains or something like that. I really wouldn't mess with that too much unless you know what you're doing with it. I'm going to bring it back to 2-wheel drive though, just because. Over here is going to be your trailer brakes. Those are going to be pretty self-explanatory if you've ever driven trailer brakes before. You're just going to pull this in to set your gain and stuff like that. If you need more, have any questions on that, feel free to give us a call and we can kind of walk you through that a little bit more. Up here, this button right here is going to be my traction control. So I click that in, my traction control will be off. So that way if you're ever stuck or something like that, click that off and then you'll be easier to get out. I'm going to click that back on though. This button up here is going to be my park assist. So that way if I'm backing up to something, it's going to be what beeps at me. If you don't like that or you don't like when it alerts you when you're getting close to something, you can always turn that off. My next button down here is going to be my lane keep assist. So that way if you're ever driving down the interstate and you're going into one lane or the other by accident, it's going to pull you back into your lane and then it's going to alert you. That way so you don't accidentally crash into somebody while you're on the interstate. Your next button down here is going to be your pedals. It's going to bring them closer to you or further away from you depending on which way you're going, for shorter people or for taller people. That way it's kind of adjustable for everybody. We're going to move down here. You do have your parking brake, pretty similar, self-explanatory to the rest of your cars. You're just going to click it all the way down to set it, and then to turn it off, you're going to click it again and bring it back up. This little knob down here is going to be how you adjust your steering wheel. So if I bring it back towards me, it's going to telescope the steering wheel out. And if I click back away from me, it's going to go in. And if I come up, it's going to bring it up, and then down to bring it down. That will also set along with your seats when you set your seats, along with your rear view, your mirrors, your side mirrors. Kind of coming up here, these little paddles on the back, you have them on both sides. The ones on the right side here are going to be your volume to go up and down. And then these ones are going to be how you toggle through your preset radio stations, or if you're on your phone playing Bluetooth, you can toggle through your music stations on your phone. So you do have your auto windshield wipers. So that way if your car, it starts misting or something and your car thinks it needs it, there's going to be this little button right here that I'm going to click on. So that way it'll turn it on and off whether it's going to sense the rain or not. Then right here is going to be your rear windshield wipers. So if I click that over to intermittent, it's going to start going them back there. That's kind of hard to see. And if I click it one more time, it's going to turn it on fully. So it'll just keep going. Then turn it back to the left to turn it off. To do your front windshield wipers is going to be this little knob here. So if I click down once with it, it's going to go one time. And then if I click up, you're going to control the speed here. So then you're just going to keep going up to go faster and faster and faster, all the way till you get up here where it's going to constantly be going. But I'm going to bring that back down to off. Your windshield wiper fluid is going to be, if I click this little lever right here and I push it away towards from me, it's going to start spraying windshield wiper fluid for you. Your bright lights are going to be the same lever as well. If I click away from you, it's going to be turn them on, and then if I bring it back towards me, it's going to turn them off. And then this little guy right here on the side is going to be your windshield wiper fluid for your back windshield. This little button right here is going to be your heated steering wheel. This will also turn on when you remote start your vehicle in the wintertime, along with your heated seats. This little guy up here is going to be your forward collision system. So if I click it once here, it's going to bring up this little picture up here. And if I keep clicking it, it's going to bring you down from 3 bars down to 2 bars and then 1 bar. And basically what that is, it's going to be the distance between you and the person in front of you. So that way, if you're driving in like on the interstate and everyone's braking in front of you, you don't see it, your car is going to detect that and it's going to stop for you. So that way you don't accidentally hit anybody. Over here is going to be your cruise control. Pretty self-explanatory. This little guy right here, if I click it, it's going to turn on and off. This guy is going to be to set it and then resume and then cancel. These two will also be to down speed when your cruise is set, and then go up in speed when your cruise is set as well. Kind of moving over here, these are going to be how you deny and answer phone calls. You can also make voice commands with this one. So if you're ever in here and you want to call somebody, you can click it and press call whoever you're trying to call. And this little, the arrows here, this dial, is going to be how you adjust the screen up here. So if I click to the left, and then I can go toggle through audio, phone, navigation, and then your settings to kind of choose what you have on your screen. But if I come back up to info here and I click on it, and I go down, it's going to bring me through trip A, trip B, fuel range, oil life, tire pressure, fuel economy, stuff like that. And then in each one, you can see I can click over to the right, so you can kind of adjust what you have on that screen, or you can reset whatever screen you're on. Some of them don't have it if there's no option to, but some of them do. That's pretty much it in your dashboard here. So we're going to get in the vehicle a little bit more, and we're going to come in and start doing the infotainment center as well. So we're in the vehicle now, and we're going to kind of go over how to start the vehicle. New Chevy Tahoe does have a push to start. So to do that, I'm going to put my foot on the brake here, and then I'm going to press the button in, and then you're all good to go. And then as this kind of pulls up here, we're going to start talking on the infotainment center here a little bit. I'm going to start in audio. Actually, I'm going to go pair a phone here real quick so we can kind of do some stuff in the audio. So to pair a phone, I'm going to come into pair device, and then I'm going to come into my settings, and then I'm going to press Bluetooth, and then I'm going to wait for it to pop up here in the bottom. So it's going to come up as my Chevrolet MyLink. I'm going to press pair. I'm going to press yes and allow. Press OK. And then we're good to go. So then I'm going to come back here, and then I'm going to go into audio. So right now we're in FM. To toggle through FM and AM and XM, I'm going to press radio right here. So I press that, it's going to bring me to XM. And I press it again, it's going to bring me to AM. And then again to come back to FM. To set pre-station or the radio presets down here, you're just going to press and hold on a number to set those, and you can have I think 10. Yep. So you can have 10 of those. Another way to look for stations is I'm going to press tune, and then say 92.5, and it's going to bring you right to that. So if I press the back button, we're on that station there, and then you just press and hold to set that. So then you're good to go like there. Media right here is going to be your Bluetooth. So if I have my Bluetooth hooked up, so if I have my phone connected, that way you can play music through here, and then you can kind of switch through your music stations that way. I'll go back to radio here. So if I come out to get back to your home screen here, I'm going to press this little button, this little home button there, and then I'm going to come into phone. Most of the time it's going to bring you into this screen. You also do have your contacts in here, also your recent calls, your voicemails. To add more phones, you're going to press phones, and then pair device just like we did earlier. It's really cool just because that way you can kind of come through your contacts and call people that way instead of having to get your phone out and your recents get right there. So it's pretty cool. Then you can also do your voice command here or on your steering wheel like we talked about earlier. But if I come back here, that's kind of audio and phone. That's really not much to it. That's all there is. If I go into projection here, that's going to be where you're going to have your Android Auto and your Apple CarPlay. So if I connect my phone here with the cord, it's going to ask you to disable CarPlay, but I'm going to press continue. So that way you're going to have your Apple CarPlay. If I get into my phone here, so it unlocks it. So that way it's going to bring up your phone. It's going to bring up your maps right here. It's going to bring up your music right here. So that way I can come up here and I can click on home if I want to go home. That way you can kind of work through your music and your navigation. That way you kind of have, even if you have a lower trim and you don't have built-in navigation, you're always going to have your built-in navigation with your phone. So that way you can always go into your phone and do that way. But I unconnected it. We're going to do an Android phone here. If I connect it same way.
5882.
All right, and I press continue up here. You do have to download the Android Auto app, and we already had done that on the phone. So I press continue here, and then I press more, and then yes, I'm in. Press continue, and then it's going to bring you to this screen right here. So I click on Android Auto and press allow. Press continue, continue. All right, so now we brought it in here. It's going to do essentially the same thing for Android phones. It's going to look a little bit different, but it's essentially the same thing. So you have your maps up here. If I click this little button here, it's going to bring you so you can go to your Spotify, your music, your phone, all that kind of stuff. You just need the Android Auto app just in order to use it. Apple users, again, you don't. You just have to hook it up and you're all good to go. That's pretty much it with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's how you'd use those. If I go into this next icon here, it's going to be your navigation. Pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to press destination, click up here to type in your address, and that's how you would, it'll show you up here where you're going and all that kind of stuff. I also want to point out that with your Android Auto and your Apple CarPlay, you have your navigation on your phone that you can use on here as well. If you don't want to type in your address in here and make it a little bit difficult, you can also do it with your phone. I'm going to come down into your settings here. So if I come back up to the top and I press time and date, your time will automatically change regardless of time zones and daylight savings. Rear seat reminder. If you have little kids, it's good to have it on just because it'll remind you to never forget them in the car. But if you ever wanted to turn it off, it'd be right in here. And then if I go down here a little bit, valet mode. Something I really like to touch on with this little button right here is going to open up this little screen. So that way you can put stuff in there and store stuff. There's also a charging port in there, so you can put your charger in there. And let's say you're ever parked somewhere and you want to put stuff in there, you can close that up. And then you can also lock it with this valet mode. So if I type in a code, and you got to type it in twice here, it's going to lock your screen on this, and it's going to turn off your radio, so that way you get into your contacts, they can't get into anything up here, and you also can't open up this screen right here. So that way you can lock that stuff in there if you ever are going somewhere and you want it locked away. And then you type in that code here and you'll be back to normal. But that's valet mode right there. That's what I just showed you. Teen driver, you kind of need a teen in the car and you need to go over it with them. Basically, it's going to set the radio state, or like how loud they can listen to music, the speed of the car. It won't let them drive without their seatbelt buckled, stuff like that. And you can kind of customize the settings on those. You just have to go over it with them. If I come down in here to radio, if you ever wanted to delete your favorites, You go to manage favorites and you can delete those pretty easily. If I click back here, vehicles where you're going to find most of the stuff you're ever going to use. Your collision detection system, that's going to be your forward collision system like we talked about earlier. And a lot of different stuff. You can kind of play with it. It's how you would change to turn off where it brakes you, and how it alerts you, stuff like that. If you ever wanted to switch with those and do some stuff differently. If I come into your comfort and convenience, the auto memory recall is going to be so it remembers your automatic seats or your programmable seats. And then your easy exit options, it's going to be the same thing, that it's going to remember those easy exit options, the same thing as the seat memory. Your vehicle does have reverse tilt mirror. So if I click on there and I press on driver and passenger, that way it's going to put down your side mirrors. So that way when you put it in reverse, you can see your tires and the lines when you're backing into somewhere a little easier. If I come back in here, power door locks, what I'm turning on here is going to be so that it won't let you lock your keys in the car. So that way the driver door will never lock if I have this on. So if you have a key in here or something and you lock the door by accident, it won't let you lock them. That's pretty much it in vehicle. Go down here. If you ever wanted to turn off your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, that's how you would do that. I don't know why you would, but they give you the option there. And then your Wi-Fi. So this is how you would come in here and mess with anything Wi-Fi related. If you wanted to turn it off, if you wanted to find the password, stuff like that, that's where you would find it in your Wi-Fi app. But if I come back here, that's pretty much it in settings. A lot of this stuff is just messing around with it and kind of figuring out what it does by just touching it and figuring that kind of stuff out. If I come back here, your weather app, you do have to continue your OnStar services with that one, but basically what it is just going to tell you the temperatures around you and like the weather for that day, basically, just like the weather apps on your phones. If I move over here to video, that's going to be how you control your DVD players and all these back here. So if I click in, it's going to bring it down. You do have like headphones and you have a controller that come with the vehicle, but this is how you would control all that stuff up here along with the remote that you would get. It's pretty self-explanatory once you put the DVD in there on how you would kind of mess with that and go through all your options and settings and stuff like that. But we don't have a DVD in here to kind of show you that. If I come back here though, this little button right here is going to be how you put DVDs in and out right here. So if you put one in and want to eject it, that's where you're going to do that. But that's pretty much it for video. It's a lot of it's just going to be putting a DVD in there and kind of messing around with it until you get it figured out. Your text option up here, I usually don't show a lot of people this just because you're not going to sit up here and text. You'd rather get your phone out. It is an option though if you ever stop somewhere and you want to text up here and read your texts and everything like that, you can. But it's kind of up to you to mess around with that and stuff like that. It's just going to be pairing your phone up and going through your text inbox and stuff like that. That's pretty much it with your infotainment center up here. This is all going to be your controls for your infotainment center. So if you're ever in audio and you want to seek, you can use this little dial here as well as your arrows right here. As you see me press this is your home button that's going to bring you here every time. If I click radio, it's going to bring you to the audio screen. And if I click media, it's going to bring me to my Bluetooth. And then here's your volume over here, and then turning the on and off, muting it. But other than that, that's not much to the infotainment center. If we kind of move down here to your Bluetooth control or your climate controls, you do have dual climate systems, so that means both of these can be different. If one wants to be colder and one wants to be warmer. To bring those back to the driver controlling those, you'll press sync, and that way I control both of these. It's just kind of whatever you like. If you have a passenger in here and they want to be warmer or colder than you do, it's kind of a good way to mess with those. This is going to be your fan speed right here, and then these are going to be the ones where your air is going. Your AC is over here, and then this button is going to recirculate your air. So once you get it pretty cold in here or warm, you can click that button and it's just going to recirculate the air you already have in here instead of bringing new air in. And then this is going to be your your front windshield windshield defrost, and then your back windshield defrost. If I move down here, is going to be my rear climate. Pretty self-explanatory. Your fan speed for your rear climate is going to be right here. You go up and down, and then where your fan speed's going, you can kind of toggle through those. And then your temperature. You can do all of that from up here. And then you can also lock it, so that way no one in the back seat can mess with your rear climate controls. So that way, if you have little kids and they're messing around with it, you can lock that so they can't do anything. You can also turn it off with this button right here. But this rear climate is completely different from up here. Those are two different systems there. If I move over here, you're going to have your heated seats. So if I click that once, that's just going to be your back, and it's going to be 3 is high, then medium, then low, and then one more for off. And it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be your back and your butt. So if I click through those, it's going to turn them on and off. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to do up in here. That's going to be new. It's going to be a lot of it just playing around with it. You do have a couple charging options here. You have the cigarette lighter 12 volt, and then you have your 2 USBs right here that we're plugged into right now. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory up here. We are going to move up to your up here. So if this little button here, if I slide this back, is going to be your sunroof. So if I click this button, it's going to tilt it open. It's kind of hard to see in here, but if I click this button right here, it's going to bring it down. And then if I click this one, it's going to slide it back for you. And you have this little bug collector right there, or wind deflector. And then if I click this button here, it's going to bring it back for you. And you got to make sure you press and hold it until it's all the way set in there, just so you know there's no chance of it being open to get water in here. This little button here is going to be for your lift gate, actually. So this is going to be how, if you're in a small garage or a parking garage and you're afraid that your lift gate's going to hit the top of the garage, you can turn that to 3/4. So that way it won't open up all the way. So that way you don't have to worry about hitting it on the top. You can also turn it off. And it's going to alert you, but that's basically if you're ever somewhere where you don't want to open it up all the way, you can lift it up to where you want to, and then you close it manually, so that way it won't just pop open for you. And then if I turn it back to max here, this little button's also going to open the lift gate. So if I click this button in, it's going to open the lift gate, and if I click it again, it's going to close it for you. These buttons here are going to be what turn on your lights when you open the doors and stuff like that. If you leave it right here in the middle, it's going to be normal settings. It's going to turn the lights on when you open the door, and then it'll turn them off when you shut the door. If I move up here, your sunglass holder is right here. And then this little guy is pretty cool. So I move that down. It's going to be a little mirror. So that way you can see the kids in the back seats, so you don't have to turn your whole body around to look for those. It makes it really cool, just so an easy way to kind of see behind you. But that's not your rear view mirror. That's just to see your back seats. This is going to be a rear view mirror up here. And one last thing to kind of go over up here is going to be your garage door clicker. So in order to set that, you're just going to get your garage door clicker up here, and then you'll press and hold whatever button it is to open it. And then the first one up here, you'll press and hold both of those at the same time for like 3 to 5 seconds, and then it should work for you that way. Then you can let off and then press it, and it should work for you. Kind of looking at the back here, your rear climate, there's going to be your controls back here. So your fan speed is going to be right here. Your temperature is going to be right here. Your mode is going to be where the fan's going. And then auto is just going to be shooting air at you really hard. You do have a couple connections down here. You have your HDMI and a couple of USBs, and then an aux cord. You also do have your cigarette lighter 12 volt up here, and then your wall charger up here. Makes it really easy when you got like video games or something in the back seat. You can kind of plug in whatever you have. And like I said, you can always lock this whole back seat climate control from the front seat. So if you ever have like little kids back there messing with it, you can always turn that off for them. But that's pretty much it with the rear climate and all the plugins back there. Something I forgot to cover is going to be your OnStar that you are going to get free for 1 month. Basically what that is your services up here. So that's going to be to use your app as a key fob, basically, to locate the vehicle and stuff like that. Along with your 1-month trial, you're also going to get connected services. So basically, or your crash response services. So basically, if you get in a crash and you're unable to respond, they're gonna talk to you through your speakers in your car and send someone right to your location as soon as your airbags deploy. So it's really helpful if you're ever concerned about that kind of stuff. You also do have built-in Wi-Fi that you're going to get free for 30 days or 3 gigabytes, whichever comes first. And if you wanted to extend those services for free, all you have to do is put a card on file when you do your OnStar call with us, and you'll just put a card on file, and it's no charge to you. You just have to cancel it at the end of the 3 months. But other than that, it's a really easy way to get an extra 2 months. I hope we were able to get you acquainted with your new Chevy Tahoe. If you ever have any questions or anything like that, you always stop back in. It's free to go do another delivery, more in depth than what we just figured out. You also can give us a call. We can get you pretty much figured out with anything over the phone as well. Congratulations on your new Tahoe, and enjoy your ride.